The Women Project celebrates, educates, and acts on behalf of all Rhode Island women with creative solutions for political change. Whether they deliver cupcakes to sponsors of bills protecting women's rights, or gather signatures on a 40-foot banner, or speak at our rallies, they work for all of us. Here is Kathleen Costa from the Women Project.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Kathleen Costa, and I am here today because the theme of the rally, No President is Above the Law, intersects with all aspects of the work that I am doing and fighting for. I am a student of social work at Rhode Island College, and we have some alumni here. And I work with Higher Ground International in supporting the West African population here in Providence. As an ambassador for adoption and equality, I support the organization's mission to bridge the gap created from racial disparities in adoption in Rhode Island. I am a supporter of reproductive freedom and the Women's Project. A theme of my work is that 45 years ago, through Roe versus Wade case, the United States Supreme Court recognized the constitutional right to privacy when making healthcare decisions related to abortion. The Trump administration is now working to undermine that court ruling.
Boo.
Boo. That's right. The Trump administration attempted to ban 4 teenage immigrants from their constitutional right to have an abortion. In each case, the government officials refused their request to go to a clinic and have an abortion. And it took a court order to make sure they could exercise their right to health care. In the 4th case, the person was denied access to health care and required to visit a so-called crisis pregnancy center, an organization that does not provide health care. After 2 weeks, they were finally released from custody. In these 4 cases, the Trump administration has used the Office of Refugee Resettlement to undermine Roe versus Wade. We need to hold the Trump administration accountable for ignoring the fact that for 45 years the Supreme Court has held that abortion is a right and it does not depend on immigration status. In recent years, maternal mortality rates have steadily increased in the United States. Black women are over 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy or childbirth-related causes, one of the widest racial disparities in healthcare. Shalom Irving worked as a researcher for the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. She was seeking to understand why so many American women, especially Black women, die or nearly die from complications of pregnancy. Despite Ms. Irving's work, she collapsed and died from complications of high blood pressure 3 weeks after giving birth. The problem is not race, it is racism. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. The problem is not race, it is racism.
Amen.
The systematic problems start with the type of social inequalities that Shalom studied: differencing access to healthy foods, safe drinking water, safe neighborhoods, good schools, decent jobs, reliable transportation. Black women are more likely to be uninsured outside of pregnancy and thus more likely to start prenatal care later and lose coverage during the postpartum period. They are more likely to have chronic conditions such as obesity, diabetes, and hypertension that make having a baby more dangerous. The hospitals where they give birth are often the products of historical segregation, lower in quality than those where white mothers deliver, where more higher rates of life-threatening complications. Those problems are amplified by unconscious bias embedded in the medical system, affecting the quality of care for Black women. We hear stories across the country. A mother in Nebraska with a history of hypertension who couldn't get her doctor to believe that she was having a heart attack until she had another one. The Florida mother-to-be whose breathing problems were blamed on obesity when in fact her lungs were filling with fluid and her heart was failing. Or Serena Williams, who recently shared her near-death experience due to complications after giving birth to her daughter. Williams was fortunate and states that for others, childbirth is a death sentence. Adoption inequality is another racial disparity affecting African Americans. In fact, more than 45% of Caucasian children are adopted compared to less than 10% African American children. This inequity stems from the systematic problems facing this marginalized population. This racial disparity affects the reproductive freedoms of African Americans. Adoption is less of an option for African American women. And the likelihood of when the likelihood of their child being adopted is slim, and when the treatment of African American children in foster care is poor at best. Help Adoption Inequality work to close the gap. The organization will be holding a workshop at Rhode Island College next month. If you would like more information, please email adoptioninequality@gmail.com. In addition to working with Adoption Inequality, we can make changes in Rhode Island that will help improve health outcomes, increase equity, and save lives. The Reproductive Health Care Act will protect Rhode Islanders' reproductive rights by ensuring that their reproductive freedoms remain safe and legal regardless of what happens to Roe v. Wade on a federal level. To help us in this fight, you can come back here Wednesday, February 28th at 3:30 p.m. and join us inside the State House. If you can't be here on Wednesday, you can still take action now to protect Roe v. Wade by calling and writing your state senator and your representative today and voting to take the wrong representatives and senators outside of our country. Ask them to bring the reproductive health care to the floor to vote. And while you have a couple of minutes today, right over here on the left side, there's a table where the Women's Project is. You can sign a quilt that will be, it'll be a square that you can use, and it will be sent here to the State House. Thank you for coming here today, and thank you for taking action with us.